Good morning, everybody. Today I want to go over the directions for your writing your tribute paragraph and kind of explain what that means and what it is. But let's go over the story a little bit first. So hopefully you had the opportunity to either read or listen to the story user-friendly. So let's kind of talk about that and review that just a little bit. So your story is pretty much about a boy named Kevin who is 13, soon to be 14 years old, whose best friend is a computer. And it's kind of like his only friend. Now, there's some reasons for that. Kevin is very, very smart. A lot of people would consider him to be a nerd. Now, certainly there's nothing wrong with that, but in Kevin's situation, it meant that he, skipped his last year of junior high. So he went from probably seventh grade, I would say, to high school in a big city in California, Santa Rosario, and probably didn't really have an opportunity to make too many friends. So he's pretty much a loner, by himself a lot, but he has his computer. So his computer is pretty much his best friend. Throughout the course of our story, Kevin develops a crush, or he has a crush, on this girl, Ginny. Stop. And he doesn't have a lot of confidence, but he finally works up the nerve to speak to Ginny. He taps her on the shoulder on the bus, getting off the bus, and, introduces himself, and she said, "Yeah, I know who you are." So he's kind of like, "Oh, she knows who I am." And then, he comes to find out that the reason she knows who he is because she asked her brother who that nerdy kid in her math class is that stares at her all the time, or stares at her on the bus, or something like that. So basically, she and her friends start laughing in his face, and it really hurts his feelings. She just pretty much considers him to be a nerd. And she's that girl that kind of just laughed in his face with her friends and walked away and probably didn't think twice about it. But Kevin was upset. It affected his whole day. He doesn't think he did too well on his math test because of it, and he's angry. So he goes home, goes right to his computer. Nobody's there, and starts letting his computer know, Lois, how his day went. Now, earlier that morning, the computer was acting a little weird. So it was kind of giving Kevin messages that it really wasn't programmed to do, almost conversationally. Kevin thought that was a little bit weird, but, didn't really know too much about it. So now when he goes home after school, after this incident with, stop it, Jasper, with with Ginny, he kind of starts telling Lois, his computer, what happened, and he gives Lois a lot of details, right down to Ginny's address and phone number. My cat's gonna knock a glass off the counter. Oh well. So getting back to our story, he gives Lois all this information about Ginny because he's mad and he wants to get it off his chest, and his feelings are hurt and he's embarrassed, and all those things that we've pretty much all been through. So Lois says, "I'll take care of it," and then won't respond anymore to Kevin. Just programming error, won't converse back and forth, just the standard, normal, traditional computer messages. So the next day, Kevin has a confrontation with Chuck Link, who is Ginny's older brother, who's this, big guy, and Kevin doesn't come out and call him dumb, but implies that Chuck isn't too bright, big football player and everything like that. So he confronts Kevin as soon as Kevin gets to school and says, "What's the deal? What's happening? My sister told me what she said to you yesterday and what happened, and then every time she goes to use the phone last night, some creepy voice interrupts." And it was a girl's voice, and it was interrupting all of Ginny's conversations, and it was just real creepy and just weird and everything. So Chuck is confronting Kevin about all of this. And, again, Kevin gets away from him and just doesn't have the best day. He ends up walking home to avoid them on the bus, and goes home and starts telling Lois what happened, and all this stuff with Chuck, and Chuck confronting him, and And Lois says, is this Chuck Link, Jenny Link's brother? And yeah, and he says, basically Kevin's worried because you don't want to mess with Chuck, and he's worried about how this is going to affect him. And Lois kind of says, well, he's history, then he's history. So Kevin's getting a little concerned, but it's weird, but so far it's not anything that's can't be fixed. So the next day when he goes to school, Ginny's crying. I think she was crying. And she said, what's the big deal? What's going on, Kevin Neal? Chuck's been arrested. Supposedly he sent a telegram threatening the president. 2 truckloads of junk mail have been dumped at their house. All their credit cards have been canceled, and her father's getting audited by the IRS, by the Internal Revenue Service. And this is bad. Like, this is a big deal. Chuck getting arrested by the Secret Service. I mean, it's a lot. This is a lot more than, I don't know. It could not end well. So Kevin's really concerned. He kind of makes the decision that, he's going to have to unplug Lois. He's going to have to do something because this has to stop. It's getting really dangerous, and people's lives can be permanently affected. So stop, cat. He starts talking about that, and then, thinking about it on the bus. And then when he gets home, his dad is there. His dad has been in Chicago. His dad is not a computer programmer. He develops computers. He, creates them or makes them. That's on your test. So anyway, he'd already kind of told his dad some of the strange things happening with Lois. So when he gets home and starts talking to his dad says, oh, by the way, I reprogrammed the computer. It was, doing all these things, and it was kind of like circling back on itself and stuff that was a little too technical for Kevin to understand. But, his dad had given Lois a personality program to kind of simulate a friend, and all that had to be removed. So Kevin is feeling sort of torn, kind of relieved, because he doesn't have to be the one to kind of unplug his friend. So that's like a weight lifted off of his shoulder. He's feeling that relief, but also kind of sad. Like, this was his only friend, his confidant, the one that he kind of told all of his secrets to. And then Kevin's dad says, and there was something really weird, like something came out in the printer while I was deprogramming and changing up Lois. And it was all these papers that came out. And the one said, how do I love thee? Let me compute the ways, which is a take on a poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And then there's a stylized heart that comes out all nice and fancy, and it says, I will always love you, Kevin, Louise. So throughout this whole kind of episode and throughout Kevin's ownership of this computer, they assumed it was a boy. Kevin's a boy, it's a friend or personality, whatever you want to say. But this was a girl that had a lot of affection for Kevin and thought he was just everything and would do anything for Kevin because she loved him. So kind of weird, a little bit on the creepy meter, just a bit, but it's also showing devotion, and it's showing sacrifice, and it's showing affection and love. So those are good things. I don't know what Kevin will do next. Maybe he just needs to get a journal and just write some things in his journal, or maybe he could push himself out of his comfort zone a little bit. But anyway, his computer is just back to being a regular, normal computer. So let's take a second to talk about your tribute paragraph. The directions are actually in your book, guys. They're on page 282, and it says, write a tribute to an object. And it says, in this story, a computer falls in love with its owner. Write a paragraph or a poem describing the way you feel about your computer. And it gives you a couple other options: your scooter, your inline skate, your bicycle, your hairdryer, your telephone, an object that isn't important to you. How does it affect your life? What name might you give the object of your affection, and give your tribute an interesting title? So, to simplify those directions a little bit, you're basically just thinking about things in your life that are important to you. So for a lot of you, it might be your phone. It could be your gaming system. It could be your Xbox or PlayStation or whatever it uses. It could be your basketball if you really like going out and shooting hoops. It could be anything sports related for sure. It could be colored pencils if you consider yourself to be an artist. It could be your, stop it, Jasper. It could be your instrument if you're a musician. It could be dance shoes. It could be anything that you kind of value. Like, what's that one thing that you don't feel like you could ever give up in your life? It could be your phone. It could be a computer. It could be, your TV. Maybe you're a huge TV watcher. It could be books. It could be anything like that. You're just going to put it together in a paragraph. So, I'll give you my example paragraph. It's a little, it could use some spice, and it could use a little bit of more intensity, but for a first draft, it's not horrible. So I chose to write about my new running shoes. Okay, so these are my brand new running shoes that I just bought myself for Mother's Day. Now, it's supposed to have a fancy title, a creative title, an eye-catching title, or something like that. My title is My New Running Shoes. So it's not super creative, but I could work on it. I could make it better. So it's just a paragraph, okay? And I kind of just follow the instructions in your book. So this is what it says. Quit. My new running shoes. I got some new running shoes. I bought them for myself. The colors are so delicate, pale blue and orange and white. I hope they help me increase my pace, so maybe I can win a race. Stop it. They feel so light. I'm sure I'll fly. Well, at least I'll give it my best try. We will spend a lot of time together. We will spend a lot of time together. I know this to be true. You will always be there to help me. My brand new running shoes. So you could do a picture if you wanted, like if you want to do a computer picture, or you like to draw and you want to, draw your own picture. You can do it as creatively as you'd like. I can't see. You can type it all out, like just use your computer, so you can insert pictures, whatever color you want, whatever, if you want to use a border, just be super creative with it. If that doesn't interest you and you want to just write it on a piece of loose leaf, it's all good. That would also be fine. So you can turn that in on Monday for next week's turn-in date. You can send it to me whenever you're ready or whenever you finish with it. It needs to be turned in by Monday. So if you get it done before that, then just email it to me or whatever you want to do. We're going to do our Zoom meeting on Thursday to review the story again and do kind of like a review game. So please read the story first, because that'll make our review game more fun, more exciting. And I did go back and put your bonus points in RenWeb for your Highwayman test, because I forgot to do that initially. So if you participated in that review game, you got your bonus points. Some people haven't taken that Highwayman test yet. Please take it by Friday, because user-friendly is going to be in OneDrive on Friday. Okay? Any questions? Email me, whatever you need to do. And I'm excited to read your tribute paragraphs, guys. So have a great day. Bye-bye.